What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, March 25th, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. So, we've been hearing some strange shortwave signals coming from Russia. We have some new frequencies that are reportedly broadcasting strange new signals that have not been heard before. And what's interesting is some of these frequencies are actually being used to broadcast signals that have been heard on other frequencies. So, this is definitely a sign that Russia is preparing to do something big soon. And my buddy Duramax News on YouTube, check him out if you don't know who he is. Duramax News. He said he heard on the EAM frequency, the emergency action message frequency, what appeared to be Russian over the horizon radars being turned on, which is really strange. Okay, over the horizon radars are used for detecting ballistic missile launches, so that means that Russia is preparing for the possibility of nuclear war. Okay, but let me just play one of these weird signals, and this is on 6,230 kilohertz, and this signal is normally heard on 5,448 kilohertz and 3,756 kilohertz. So this signal is now being heard on a different frequency that it's never been heard on before. This is known as the PIP, and this is a Russian nuclear forces signal. And what happens is Russia broadcasts their emergency messages on any frequency that has this signal, and this signal just constantly plays indefinitely until someone picks up the mic and transmits an encrypted message, which is similar to our emergency action message. Okay, these are encrypted messages that go out to Russian nuclear forces. They use several frequencies for it. They have what's known as the PIP, they have the buzzer, they have some other ones, but let me just play this for you guys. It's really bizarre. This has never been heard before on this frequency. So you can hear like that ticking noise. Okay, that's why it's called the pip. It's like a little beep, beep, beep. So I don't know what this is, guys. This has never been heard before on this frequency. And there's some other frequencies as well. 5,838 kilohertz. Also some strange signals going on there. 6,322 kilohertz and 6,218 kilohertz. So strange shortwave signals coming from Russia on weird frequencies. And my buddy Duramax News heard an over the horizon radar being turned on when he was listening to the emergency action message frequency. So Russian nuclear forces are on high alert. I am expecting Russia to escalate in a serious way very soon. They could even nuke Ukraine as soon as this week. I'm very concerned about it, guys. Okay, so get prepared. Things are about to get really crazy very soon. And the British government has reportedly warned Vladimir Putin not to use the Moscow concert hall attack as an excuse to escalate against Ukraine. And this was reported by the UK Telegraph, citing a senior British government source. So the British government warning Putin not to use the concert hall attack as an excuse to escalate against Ukraine. Okay, so obviously the West is concerned about that. We have the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova saying that after the Crocus City Hall attack, the U.S. tries to bail Ukraine out by mentioning the ISIS terror group outlawed in Russia and to cover itself and the Zelensky regime it created. So you see what's going on here, guys? The Russian government has already made up in their mind who is responsible for this attack. Okay, it's all being blamed on Ukraine. And I'm telling you, Putin is going to escalate in a massive way very, very soon. I think he's going to potentially nuke Ukraine. He may use chemical weapons. He may use bunker busters to try to take out Zelensky, which he hasn't done yet. He hasn't tried to do that yet. He may try to do that, but he's going to escalate in a very, very serious way. Okay? And I want to remind you guys that right after the concert hall attack, we sent a B-1, or actually two B-1 nuclear capable bombers to the Russian Arctic near their Northern Fleet base, which is one of their main sub bases on the Kola Peninsula. We sent two of them right to their Northern Fleet base, guys, and that is very provocative for us to do. This came right after Poland said that a Russian cruise missile flew into their territory for 39 seconds. Literally hours later, we sent these B-1s, two of them, two B-1s to Murmansk, okay, which is where Russia has their Northern Fleet. That's where they have most of their nuclear-armed, nuclear-powered submarines, okay? So very provocative move by us. And want to also just share some other flight paths. Last night, we had this Boeing E-6B Mercury nuclear war command and control plane, and it had a very unusual flight path. It flew along the Mexican border. This is extremely unusual for these planes. These planes are responsible for remotely launching all of our Minuteman III ICBMs during a nuclear war. If something were to happen and they weren't able to launch them from the ground for whatever reason, they can function as a backup launch control center in the air. Also, their main job is to communicate with our submerged nuclear-armed submarines and give them orders, okay? And what was really unusual is during the massive missile attack on Ukraine over the weekend, there were literally no NATO aircraft in the air over Europe at all, which is extremely unusual, guys. This update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply has brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the discount, you got to use the link preparewithnYprepper.com. And the link is in the description below this video. But this 3-month emergency food supply has a 25-year shelf life. It includes over 2,000 calories per day, breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks, all contained within 6 rugged water-resistant buckets, and free shipping is included. So use the link preparewithnYprepper.com to get $200 off or 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply. The link is in the description below this video. Free shipping is included. They also have a general store where they sell all kinds of prepping and survival products, and they're always running various discounts. And to get to their general store, you just got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo when you get to preparewithnYprepper.com at the top of the page, and you'll see their general store where they sell all kinds of prepping and survival products, and they're always running discounts here. So use the link preparewithnYprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video. Usually you'll see at least like one aerial refueler flying in Poland near the Ukrainian border, but there was absolutely nothing, okay? So you can see the date here, March 24th at 03:30 UTC time, okay? Very, very strange for there not to be any planes in the air. And we also had 2 U.S. Army priority air transports go from Stratcom and Colorado Springs to Washington, D.C. over the weekend. And Colorado Springs is where Cheyenne Mountain and NORAD are located. And Stratcom is one of the most important functions of our military. And Stratcom, based in Omaha, Nebraska, is basically the brain of the entire U.S. military during a nuclear war or any kind of catastrophic situation. Stratcom controls the entire U.S. military. So these were U.S. Army VIPs, probably generals, that flew from these basically critical bases, that flew from one of the most that flew from two of the most critical bases in our country to Washington, D.C. This was right after the concert hall attack in Moscow, okay? And this morning, we had Russian doomsday planes in the air. There was this Russian doomsday plane that went from Moscow to Nizhny Novgorod. So this could be potentially Putin paying a visit to Nizhny Novgorod, or maybe Sergei Shoigu or some other VIP, okay? And there were some other special flight squadron planes that went east to Siberia and to the Urals, as you can see here. This could potentially be Vladimir Putin going to Nizhny Novgorod. So thought I would just share that with you. And there was a missile attack on Kyiv this morning. Russia used anti-ship missiles fired from Crimea. They used the Onyx missiles. And this is interesting because I think this might have been one of the few times, if not the first time, that Russia has actually targeted the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv, with these Onyx anti-ship missiles. Normally they use either the Caliber cruise missiles when they're launching from the Black Sea, or they use the AS-15 Kent air-launched cruise missiles. So why they use these missiles in their attack on Kyiv, I have no idea. Must have been something about the way those missiles fly and the fact that they launched them from Crimea. Maybe they were trying to fool the Ukrainian air defenses by coming up from the south, but they only launched a few, which tells me that it was more of a probing attack than anything else. And in my update last night, I mentioned that there were open source intelligence analysts saying that Russia had prepared over 24 bombers to launch a massive missile strike on Ukraine. Okay, that never transpired overnight, but I believe that that could happen tonight, okay, or very, very soon. Okay, 24 bombers, guys. Each one of those bombers can carry a dozen cruise missiles. So you're talking hundreds of missiles, okay, that Russia's preparing to launch against Ukraine in what could be the largest missile attack yet of this war. And allegedly 4 of the attackers of this concert hall attack were captured and appeared in court in Russia after having been beaten and tortured into confession. They will be held in maximum security custody until at least May 22nd. One of them, named Muhammad Sabir Faizov, refused to confess to the crime and was seen being wheeled into court unconscious. Okay, and that's the guy on the lower right corner here. Okay, he was literally unconscious when he was in court, and they had to reschedule his court appearance because he was literally unable to speak. So they basically forced these guys to confess. We don't even know if these are the actual shooters, okay? These could just be some random dudes that the Russian government picked up and are now using them as, the attackers. That's their role, okay? But they're not actually the attackers, all right? And I want to just read to you the background of some of these alleged attackers here. So we have one guy who was an illegal immigrant from Tajikistan, overstayed a work visa, and he's a father of 4 young kids. The other guy, allegedly born in Tajikistan, lives in Moscow. The other guy was born in Tajikistan. He's a factory worker, father of an 8-month-old baby. And then the other guy, a hairdresser, and that's the guy that was wheeled in on a stretcher to court. Okay, so for all we know, these guys could have just been just some randoms, and they were literally forced and drugged by the Russian Secret Service to appear as if they were the ones responsible for this. Okay, this type of stuff goes on all the time, guys. Intelligence agencies around the world are very good at staging this kind of stuff. It's not hard to do. All right, and we have some breaking news coming out of Russia. Apparently, the Ukraine disabled another power plant in Russia. They targeted the Novocherkassk district thermal power plant in the Rostov region, and it's now offline completely after multiple Ukrainian drone strikes yesterday. The power plant has a 2,258 megawatt capacity, so this is a massive power plant, guys, massive. And the Financial Times is reporting that the presidents of Latvia and Estonia called on allies to make further efforts to prepare for a possible armed confrontation with Russia, including bringing back mandatory conscription. So that is very concerning. I want to just read to you what some European leaders are saying about this concert hall attack. We have Alicia Kearns. She's a politician out of Great Britain. She's the conservative chairman of the Commons Foreign Affairs Committee. She said Russian media channels are already circulating deepfake videos of Ukrainian officials in an attempt to blame Ukraine and provide Putin some defense for the war crimes he's committed in Ukraine, or worse, pretext for further atrocities. There is no indication of any link to Ukraine nor any credible reason to suggest their involvement. And Donald Tusk, the Polish prime minister, echoed that sentiment, saying he hoped this terrible tragedy will not become a pretext for anyone to escalate violence and aggression. And Ukraine's foreign ministry said they feared the accusations had the aim of whipping up anti-Ukrainian hysteria in Russian society, creating conditions for strengthening the mobilization of Russian citizens to participate in criminal aggression against the state. It's not going to be about mobilization, guys. They can mobilize. They don't care about that. Okay, they can mobilize anytime they want. Putin wants to use WMDs, okay? He wants to do different things than he's already been doing, and he needs a reason, he needs a justification. And the Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant is going to be making an official visit to the U.S. this week, and he's going to be meeting with U.S. defense officials, okay, the top U.S. defense officials. I want to read to you what he said before he took off to come here. He said, "I am traveling to the United States today upon invitation by the U.S. government. This is a very important trip during which I will meet with a series of senior U.S. officials, firstly the Secretary of Defense, as well as the Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, and the Director of the CIA. This visit will focus on preserving the qualitative military edge of the State of Israel, our ability to obtain platforms and munitions, our critical ties with the United States, and the importance of achieving our goals in Gaza, namely defeating Hamas, returning the hostages, and ensuring Israel's security needs as these relate to the Gaza Strip and Lebanon." Okay, notice he mentions Lebanon. "We will also discuss the need to return Israel's northern communities to their homes, whether this is achieved via military action or via agreement. I would like to express my deep appreciation to the U.S. government and to my friend Secretary Lloyd Austin for their invitation to the United States during such an important time in order to preserve the special and important relationship for both our countries." So this is huge, guys. Okay, he's talking about Lebanon and the Gaza Strip. Okay, he says, "We will discuss the need to return Israel's northern communities to their homes, whether this is achieved via military action or via agreement. Okay, so I'm telling you guys, Israel's going to go into Lebanon. Two-thirds of Israelis support an operation in Lebanon to push back Hezbollah or even to eliminate Hezbollah completely. Now, what's interesting is 2 weeks ago, Hezbollah has apparently deployed around the capital of Lebanon, Beirut, and they've been setting up checkpoints and checking people's documents. I guess they're paranoid that potentially there may be some Israeli infiltrators coming in and trying to conduct reconnaissance before they go in on the ground with the main force. Okay, but this is very, very serious, guys. So Israel's going to go after Rafah. That's going to happen very soon after Ramadan ends. And then after Rafah is over, then they're going to go after Hezbollah. Okay, so we have two things to worry about in the coming weeks. We have Putin basically going off the rails. The guy has completely lost his mind, and he's going to start using WMDs potentially on Ukraine or doing some crazy escalation. Then on top of that, we have Israel and Hezbollah and Rafah. And then that's going to just kick off a lot of problems in the Middle East. We're going to have the proxies attacking U.S. bases again. The Houthis are going to start stepping up their attacks. Okay, it's been quiet lately over there because we are in the middle of Ramadan. Okay, Ramadan is going to last another 2 weeks. But once Ramadan ends, that's when they're going to continue with their attacks. Okay. And the U.S. Border Patrol chief called the situation at the southern border a national security threat, expressing concern about tens of thousands of migrants who have evaded apprehension and entered the country surreptitiously over the past 5 months. And the U.S. Navy Admiral for the Indo-Pacific Command warned last week the security environment is the most dangerous I've seen in 40 years in uniform, and that we haven't faced a threat like this since World War II. He said the most concerning thing was China's and North Korea's cooperation with Russia. And I want to just play this video of him speaking at a hearing, a congressional hearing, so you can hear from the horse's mouth.
I've described the security environment as the most dangerous I've seen in 40 years in uniform, and a big portion of that are the cooperation, number one, between the PRC and Russia. Again, in President Xi's words, a relationship that has not been seen in 100 years. And we should listen to him when he speaks. They tell us what they're thinking about. So that cooperation from those two authoritarian nations puts us in a different security environment. So I'm very concerned about that. It's amplified with regard to the DPRK supporting Russia in the form of ballistic missiles and other munitions and capabilities. My sense is this is a way to combat the broadened United States alliances, partnerships with our like-minded allies and partners. This is their counter. But I articulated we're almost back to the axis of evil when you plug in Iran to this problem set. That set of cooperation is concerning, and it should be concerning to the whole globe.
Wow, guys, very strong words there from Admiral Aquilino. And we had a 5.3 magnitude earthquake just south of Guam over the weekend. Very interesting. I wonder if the U.S. conducted an underwater nuclear test. And the Philippines has summoned a Chinese envoy over aggressive actions off of a reef in the Philippines exclusive economic zone. The latest incident took place Saturday near the Second Thomas Shoal in the Spratly Islands during a regular Philippine mission to resupply Filipino troops. Okay, this is really getting crazy over there in the South China Sea. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news. But just get prepared, guys. Okay, prepare your soul, prepare yourself physically, mentally. Things are just really spiraling out of control. We have these weird shortwave radio signals coming out of Russia with their over-the-horizon radar also being heard. We have the British government warning Putin not to use the concert hall attack as an excuse to escalate. So until next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the three P's: prepare, practice, and persevere. Guys, the world is getting crazier by the day. We're on the verge of World War III. The U.S. is drowning in trillions of dollars in debt. Inflation is at an all time high, and there's no end in sight. So, you need to prepare your finances for the future with precious metals. Precious metals are a great way to protect your hard earned savings and retirement against inflation and the uncertainty of the stock market. Also, precious metals are good to have for the purposes of preparedness, to be able to barter with people for essential supplies if the grid goes down. Every prepper should have at least a small amount of silver coins. The company I trust for my precious metals is Midas Gold Group. Text NYPrepper to 232425 for free information on precious metals. Midas Gold Group is 100% veteran owned and supports veterans through the Wounded Warrior Project. Midas Gold Group will work with you to convert part of your retirement savings into gold or to set up a gold IRA. And unlike many precious metals dealers, Midas Gold Group offers precious metals in small denominations, which is great for preparedness, so you have something tangible to use for bartering when the grid goes down. Precious metals have continuously risen in price over the past 100 years and are considered a safe investment. So text NYPrepper to 232425 for free information and to get started today.